Okay. So I believe I am officially live. Um, if you're joining us, welcome to this live and welcome to there's a live and there's also YouTube. So welcome to YouTube if you're watching from YouTube, and welcome to Instagram if you're watching on Instagram. Now, I want to ask you to please go ahead and okay. I want you to share the broadcast with anybody you can share it with. This is going to be a blessing. I encourage you to join, invite somebody to also join, okay? All right. While you're on, welcome to anybody joining online. I want to take a moment and teach about today. We're going to talk about breaking the silence um, of domestic violence. Breaking the silence starts with us. Okay. So share this live, talk about domestic violence, and be a voice for those who do not feel like they have a voice. So become a voice to the voiceless, for the voiceless. Domestic violence actually thrives on silence, right? It lives on the fact that people won't talk about the violence. It thrives in it. So I want to make this straight to the point. So I took some notes, I wrote down some few things. Normally I just kind of teach from the heart. And because this is such important information and stuff like that, I want to give you straight to the point bullets so that you can learn. This live may not be long, my usual, but I do want to encourage you to really take the information. Maybe it's not happening to you. Maybe you're not familiar or you can't relate to DV, right? We call it DV. But share with somebody who can benefit from this live, okay? Share with someone. All right. So, what is domestic violence? Many people know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but the majority of people do not know that it is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We call it DVAM. Now, for those of you who may not know, me personally, I was a victims advocate, nationally certified victims advocate for the United States Air Force. And I did that for over 6 years. Okay. I advocated for abused wives of military men, abused military members, and also I advocated for abused men because men also do get abused. Although domestic violence is reportedly um uh, it's a gendered crime, right? So the majority of women, um when we talk about numbers, the majority of reports are women. So it's a gendered crime, right? But it is illegal. It is not the right thing to do when you're with a partner, but we'll get there. But I just wanted to kind of throw it out there. I where anyone who knows somebody who's going through breast cancer or who needs the information, we will be putting out information on breast cancer awareness as well, as we always do. And that I think DV has been hidden for so long, it's become like taboo. And even working for the military, one of the things that I realized working for the military was that because it's such a different culture, they didn't really want to talk about it much. Although there are programs out there that were informative, there are programs out there that were helpful, there are programs out there that were useful to keep people informed about DV. It was not something that was very publicized in general. So I want to change that narrative. All right. So let's begin by talking about what domestic violence is. I had clients in the past as an advocate who would say to me, I mean, like, am I really in a domestic violence relationship? Like what we call abuse. Am I really being abused? I don't think so, because both of us say nasty things to each other. We both fight. But here's the thing, when it comes to domestic violence, there is always a primary offender, and then there is one that is a secondary that is just kind of retaliating against. All right. So I want to do something. I don't know if it'll let me do it. Okay. All the tech stuff, it drives me insane. Yeah, all the tech stuff really do drive me insane. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I hope I'm still live. I don't know. All right, let's jump right into it. What is domestic violence? When we talk about abuse, or what we call DV, it is a pattern of abusive behavior used by one partner, right, to gain or maintain control over the other partner within the relationship. And this usually refers to intimate relationships. You can experience abuse between leader and subordinate. You can experience abuse between parent and child. Abuse cuts across all dimensions of relationships, but mostly what I'll be referring to here is domestic violence as it pertains to within your intimate relationship, right? Like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. That's what I'll be really focusing on. So domestic violence can happen to anybody, everybody. Like no one is exempt. No one. So anybody can be subject to that. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter what age. It doesn't matter what race or socioeconomic status you are. There are people that, you know, are in a certain tax bracket, but still they experience domestic violence. So it doesn't really matter. What it is a matter of control, right? When you're with somebody, it turns into it can easily turn into a domestic violence relationship if that person is controlling and you're not aware. A lot of times we turn back and refer to domestic violence as an issue between I wonder, I'm just trying to see here. I think I don't know how to do this so that it doesn't click me out, but I don't know how to do it and do it well. So the tech stuff, let me just teach, and hopefully it will save and go to the right page. I don't know which page is doing what. Anywho, in relationships, you really have to be mindful of how you relate to the other person. Like I said, it can happen to everybody and anybody. I want to give you the type of abuse so that you understand when we're talking about violence, what we're referring to. Physical abuse is the obvious, the hitting, the slapping, the pushing, the choking, right? We call it strangulation in DVAM, like the trainings, they call it strangulation. And strangulation is a silent killer. So if you've ever had a situation where somebody choked you, that person is more likely to kill you. Nobody likes to hear those words. But the reality is, when you are in a relationship that is controlling, that person can easily become abusive to the level where they can kill you. We don't like to think those words, but if somebody threatens to kill you, they have the potential of doing it. If somebody strangles you, strangulation is this: somebody holds you by the neck, that person is more likely to also kill the individual, and is a silent killer because within 4 seconds you can legit lose your ability to breathe. You can die. Like your organs can be constrained from receiving oxygen, and oxygen is going to the brain. Once is stopped and hindered, you can easily lose that ability in your brain for your cells to even live, right? So easily, that's the silent killer, because when you're being strangled, you're like, you're trying to fight, you're trying to push the person away. Within all those times, damage is being done. When I worked at the clinic, within the military, one of the things that we saw stroke victims, and when let's say, for example, a woman comes in and she has a stroke, or it may look like, okay, that's just a regular medical issue. But a lot of stroke victims, you can connect it to domestic violence. Okay. So it's very important. My part of my job was to train first responders. So I was training security forces, I was training the police in Delaware, the police, um, different troops. I was going from troop to troop doing trainings. I was going to different cities doing trainings. That was what my job was, to bring awareness to something that has been so um, minimized and normalized in society for so long. It is not normal to be in an abusive relationship. It is not normal. But a lot of people have come into the space where they call love or lust, they call it love. But really, what it is just a matter of you really having a liking for somebody and disassociating that liking for something more than what it is. Do you understand what I'm saying? And a lot of times it's not even a liking per se. Like you meet somebody at the store and the person is like, how are you? How are you? And they call you and then they want to hang out tomorrow and they want to hang out the next day. And you're like, oh my gosh, he likes me so much. And you come to find out, okay, now you have a Romeo, like the person is chasing you, is loving you, is giving you everything that you need. But what you don't realize, that the person is preying on you. You've become a prey to this individual. And that is the part that we always miss, is that if this person becomes a prey, like you are now a prey to a predator, this predator knows the signs, knows the kind of person he can abuse. Do you understand what I'm saying? Abusive people know who they can abuse. They know that. And sometimes also, you may not necessarily be the type that will succumb to something like that. At least you tell yourself, nobody can ever hit me. But you find yourself in a relationship and it's so subtle. Okay. Abuse is not always overt. Like it's not always so obvious. Like if somebody slaps you, that's obvious. But it could be very emotional, right? There's emotional, psychological abuse. You're talking about insults. You're stupid, you're dumb, you're fat, threatening you, manipulating you. A lot of people are manipulative. One of the like biggest signs of abuse is manipulation. So I don't play with manipulation at all. It doesn't even have to be an intimate relationship. Manipulation can happen amongst friends. It can happen amongst people at work. It can happen in any leadership setting. Manipulation can easily happen. And I've seen so many abusive relationships in my life, okay, that I can tell you, I can smell abuse from afar. As I mentioned, if you're just joining, we're talking about domestic violence and breaking the silence of abuse. Okay. Abuse happens in cycles. And I really am trying to make it straight to the point and teach, because this is so dear and near to my heart. I can easily be all over the place. All right. So that's why I had to make notes like, okay, what is domestic violence? I defined it. Domestic violence is control over another person. It's not an anger management issue. How do I know? I used to teach anger management. And for those who don't know, my background is in social work. I have my master's in social work. Okay. And although some of you know me as the cybersecurity girl, that's cool. But my training growing up, I have my master's in social work. That's where I came from. Way before I started doing IT and all that other stuff. Okay. So I was privileged to work with a lot of different sets of population, you name it. I worked with everybody. So when it comes to working with people, it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't, as an advocate, I advocated for everybody. And I found out whether in the LGBTQ community, whether in a church setting, in a military setting, in a family setting. Abuse is abuse and it's everywhere. All right. So you have physical abuse. That's the obvious, the black eye, right? So you can see the black eye and talk about it. But what about the emotional abuse that there are no signs? There are no signs. A lot of youth today are involved in very abusive relationships. A lot of youth today are just kind of, they're dating, they're going, they're coming. And because they grew up in domestically violent homes, they also end up picking somebody who's domestically abusive. All right. So I want to break it down. I want to help you. Listen, abuse is not normal. We can normalize it all day long, but abuse is not normal. That's not love. So when you connect with somebody who thinks, I like you, and they're constantly calling you, constantly want to be around you, no, that's possessiveness. That's aggressiveness. That's somebody who is manipulative. And those people that are abusive, they take you away from family. They take you away from friends. Okay, so I'm going to give you all these signs by the time we're done. Like I said, October is DVAM, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and most people don't know it because they know it as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's both, and both are equally important. So today we're going to talk about this for now, okay? So there's also financial abuse. There are women who work who don't see a penny of their money because the spouse or the boyfriend decides I'm going to keep the money. I see it all the time. I saw it when I was doing therapy. I saw it when I was working for the military. I saw it everywhere I went. All right. Let's talk about financial abuse. What does it look like? They prevent you from working. So some of you may be married and you may think, oh, I just want to be a housewife. Oh, I just want to be here and take my. Listen, I'm not against being a housewife. You could be, listen, I've been there, done that. It's all good. If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. But I encourage every woman to empower herself by making sure that she also is bringing something to the table. Now, taking care of your kids is bringing something to the table, but there has to be, you have to make sure that that's the value you're adding. But don't stay home in the sake of, oh, I'm a wife, I just stay home. Oh, my husband doesn't want me to work. What do you mean by my husband doesn't want me to work? Who makes that decision that you're not going to work? Right? So when I hear women talk, a lot of times it's what is not said. I'm not worried about you flaunting or that you're flaunting. It's what you're not saying that I'm really listening to. Why? Because I'm trained. My ears are trained to work with people. My ears are trained to pick up, especially when it comes to abuse. I smell abuse from far away. I smell it. And it could be in every setting. It could be in a church setting. It could be in a family setting. Most people experience their signs of abuse in the family. That's where it starts. So we're going to talk about that. All right. So I gave you physical, emotional, financial, sexual abuse. My goodness. So one of the things, when I first graduated college, which the last time I counted, I was shook by how long ago I left college. My goodness. I was like, there's no way it's almost 2 decades. I mean, I feel like I'm 21 years old. Like, how? But anyway, sidebar. How did I leave college almost 2 decades ago? That's impossible. But anyway, when I first graduated, I was a child protective specialist. Okay. And my job was to remove children that were abused, okay, abused in their homes, sexually abused, um, emotionally abused, physically abused. That was my job as a CPS worker. So if you ever watched the show Law and Order, that was me. That was me in Law and Order. Okay, I grew up watching Law and Order. Never did I think I was gonna be that CPS worker knocking the door. That was me. I was a police officer without a gun in my very, very early days. I left college when I was like 20 something. I think 20 years old. So I started working full time very early in life. And um, during this experience, I saw a lot of sexual abuse. And the sad part of sexual abuse is that it was predominantly in the home. So as I'm talking, you may think, but men get abused too. Yes, men do get abused. I know this firsthand. I've taken men to court that were abused. So I know this. It's not information you're given. But one thing I want to say, and while you're here, if you have questions, comments, feel free to comment. Okay. Don't silently watch. Send it to your friend. There's a friend you know that is in the DV relationship. She doesn't even know she's in the DV relationship. You got a family member that's being abused. Send it to them. Say, come and watch Coach Yeboah, Minister Ruth, depending on which platform you're watching me on. Come and watch her. And she's teaching on domestic violence. Domestic violence is like so near and dear to my heart because nobody should be putting hands on you. Yeah. If you're a man watching, nobody should be putting hands on you. If you're a woman watching, nobody should be putting hands on you. Nobody. Not your father, not your mother, certainly not your boyfriend or your husband. And that's why we try to not also put hands on our children. Because what happens is when you're a parent that beats your child, you're grooming them to be abused. Ah, I said it. I wish somebody would type that for me. When you are a parent who hits their children, you are grooming that child to become abused or to be abused. Because essentially what you're saying is that it's okay for you to be hit. It's okay for you to be mistreated. So then that child grows up and they don't know any better. And they think it's normal for them to be hit. You hit them so much that you desensitize them. Once you're desensitized, this is why our children are so wayward and so out of, out of line, because we have desensitized the children. They watch scary things, they watch aggressive and violent things. So by the time the child is 10, they take a gun and they go shoot somebody because they don't even know that it's wrong. So before the brain can comprehend what is right or wrong, we've already dimmed, we've already killed those emotions that are normal, those natural feelings that you get as a person. This is not right, or those empathetic feelings like, oh my God, I can never stab somebody, I can never hit somebody. We have lost those feelings simply because if somebody doesn't have Instagram, send them to Coach Yeboah YouTube. Okay, I just want to say that, send them to Coach Yeboah YouTube, because I don't want nobody to miss this teaching right here. This teaching right here is so important. There are people that are dying from so-called relationships, all in the name of love. So we've got love all mixed up. Lust is being called love, and things are happening out of line. People that are abusive, they're predators. So again, they know how to prey on their prey. They know how to prey on their victims, right? So their victims may not be aware or alert, but when they see you, they see low self-esteem. They see you have daddy mommy issues. They see someone who is desperate. They see someone who needs attention. They can read you. That's why I post all the time. Like I tell the ladies, the way you carry yourself, all right, you give off naturally some kind of, it's like Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi gives you this broadband, it gives you this thing. So naturally, when people catch on to you, when people see you, they see how you carry yourself. And when they see that you're carrying yourself in a way that lets them know they have a chance, they will strike. I remember growing up, they used to always say to me, "You're not the typical Ghanaian women." And I was supposed to be offended by this, by the way. You're not the typical Ghanaian woman. And I remember one of my aunties telling me, you need to soften yourself so you can get married. Become a little soft so the men will marry you because you're too rough. You're like a man. Don't do that. And I'm like, I don't know how to be soft. To this day, I don't know how to be soft. Do you understand? I'm not saying be a woman and be aggressive, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you're protected. What I'm saying though is that as a woman, especially, because I'm speaking to women, right? Especially, your job is to ensure that you carry yourself in a way that you give no access to nonsense. You give no access, okay? It's not your fault you're being beaten. Listen to what I'm saying. It's not your fault you're being abused. But what happens is we give access. So this individual that is constantly calling you, constantly want to hang out, you think is love, you don't give access by saying, can we hang out not today, maybe next week? If you want to see if that person is genuinely in love with you, try canceling some of those appointments you have with them. I'm talking about the very basic beginning of relationships. And the beginning of relationships is when you can pick up on an abusive person. It's the beginning, because they love bomb you. They're all over you. So much so that you're not necessarily able to breathe. They don't give you enough time to think through what is happening. And I'm wrapping up. I was gonna have our therapist on here, so let me know if you're able to join. I don't have my other phone, so I can't message. But let me know if you're able to join. You can put a comment. All right. So why do victims stay in domestically abusive relationship? A lot of victims stay because they fear retaliation, right? You know, you go tell on them, maybe you tell the pastor or you tell their family member. So they come and retaliate. So a lot of victims are like, I'm not going to go anywhere. Oh, oh, welcome, my own heart. I won't say your name, my own heart. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. You are lovely. Um, Financial dependence, right? So if your husband tells you don't work, you're not working. So if you're not working, which money are you running away with? Which money are you going with the kids with? You ain't got no money. Remember that. So naturally, we are afraid. Oh, no problem. No worries. No worries. So naturally, we're afraid to step out. Concerns for children and family. A lot of people don't know the law. And for somebody who went through the court system, you know, took people through um uh what do you call PFAs? PFAs are protection from abuse orders. Um, Other places call it restraining orders, right? So for someone who took people through the process of PFAs, restraining orders, took them through divorces, you know, I'm a coach for marriage, but listen, if it comes down to it, there are people that won't change. We're going to talk about it, and I can also guide you in that. Lack of support or safe options. A lot of times you don't know where to turn. You're in a domestic violence relationship. You don't know. And your family at this point, they're tired of you because they told you this man is abusive, this man, and you're like, I'm in love. Oh no, he's not like that. You know, my husband, maybe he had a long day at work. Always, it's only him. He has long days at work, so long that he's beating on you. Listen, that's the problem, is that we make excuses for people who are in DV relationships. We make excuses for that perpetrator, and we call it okay. And we tell them that, oh, it's okay, they have issues. But when you come to find out, it's not necessarily the case. It's not the case. Domestic violence is not an anger management issue. If you can type that. Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure to see you, my dear. Thank you. Thank you for the points. I'm trying to hit the points straight and then I will close. So for those that they join later, you know, go back and rewatch the replay. Send it to a friend, because sometimes it's not us. The people that listen to this is not everybody that needs it. Send it to somebody that actually needs it, you know, also, because they will never go looking, right? That's the thing about victims. Victims are so afraid that they don't always empower themselves. So as an advocate, my job was to, thank you so much. As an advocate, my job is to encourage, right? Is to encourage victims that they can flee. It takes the average victim 7 attempts. Did you hear that? 7 attempts to leave a domestically violent relationship. Abusive relationships, they're stuck because again, they were with this person for X amount of time and they kept telling them, oh, nobody wants you. If you try to leave, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill the children. And a lot of domestic violent relationships, when you leave, when you finally muster the strength to leave, you know, one of the ways that bring you back, the children. All of a sudden, a person who never took care of the kids, you're leaving, and now this person takes you to court. Can you imagine? Takes you to court and tries to get you back in the house. Even though all this while they didn't care about the kids, they were not doing nothing. So the only way they stop it. That is so funny. My darling. She says she has 6 more times. You are powerful beyond measure. Powerful beyond measure. Listen, so many women, like, you know, you're better than that. You just know I'm better than this because nobody has the right to make you feel small or cause you to diminish, all in the name of love. And you know what? The women, they meant well. They meant well. Because we see these people and we're like, oh, this person, they're good, they're different and everything. And we fall in love. But a lot of times, one thing I've come to realize is this thing called trauma bonding. You may have heard it on social media. Today, a lot of people are speaking about it, and I love that. But the real understanding of trauma bonding is that we've gone through so much in our lives that instead of, you know, maybe we haven't had the chance to really heal well from the things that we've gone through, right? We haven't gotten a chance to really heal. So we meet somebody and we feel like I can help them. I love women. I mean, I'm around women all day. I talk to women all day. But we feel like I can help this person. So we connect with them and we get with them. And then getting with those women, do you know what happens? And getting with those men, we want to help, we want to build them, we find ourselves all of a sudden losing who we are. You don't know where they begin and you don't know where they end. It's like you're meshed together with this person. Whatever they say goes. So it's not an anger issue because you can get angry, but that shouldn't even last. But it's rather a controlling issue. Like, I want to control and impose my will on you. I don't want you going this place. I don't want you to talk to that family member. I don't want, it's controlling, taking away your freedom. That's what domestic violence is. It takes away your freedom, your ability to be. You're at work, you glance out the window, you see that they're outside, standing by your car. And then you think, oh, they love me so much. Oh my gosh, he came to pick me up. You brought a car to work. How is somebody coming to pick you up? You have a car to work. It's the little signs. And like I said, it's so subtle that you miss it. So again, the children, this person is taking you to court. They're dragging you. You try to go here. Let me tell you, by law, listen to what I'm saying. By law, you don't need to go to the police and say, I'm taking my children with me. I had a lot of victims do that. Don't go to the police. Go tell them, I want to take my children. If you're reporting the crime, by all means, because it's a crime that can be charged. DV is. Many people don't know that. So, but if you want to leave and let's say, listen, I would relocate to like Australia somewhere. Like I'll go in the middle of nowhere. Do you understand what I'm saying? But whenever you try to leave, yes, the person can go to court and get the court to order you to come back. But legally, it's not illegal for you to take your child with you somewhere. It's not illegal. But if it seems like you're running away because now the person has to find a way to bring you back. Listen, I worked in the court system. The court system doesn't always favor the victim. Let's call it spade for what it is. The court system does not favor victims. I remember there were days, maybe, a woman was abused, a wife was abused, her children. I mean, I will go to the home to go help her or talk to her and take a report. And I will call the police to come over the house. The police shows up at the house and says, well, if we get a call again, we're going to arrest both of you. What woman is going to call back? And what men will call back for that matter? You're not going to call again. And I remember taking a man to court. The wife that was abusing him was like 4 foot. She was like 4 foot. This man was like 6.7. The guy was so tall and so big. Like, not big like stretch, but like big. So the judge was looking at him. I saw the way the judge looked at the guy. Like, you said she's abusing you. What is she doing exactly? She's 4 foot. I mean, the woman was really short compared to the guy. But then as a victim's advocate, I saw the videos. I saw what the woman was doing. I saw the videos. She was abusing the guy. So, like I said, it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your sex. It doesn't like your gender. It doesn't matter. You can be abused in intimate relationships. The point is to make sure that you don't get stuck in it, because sometimes you don't know. In the name of love, in the name of, trauma bonding, you don't know that it's trauma bonding. You haven't healed. You meet this person, you want to help them, you want to talk to them, and the person, you don't realize that you're just connected to their chaos, their problems. So you come in as a savior and you want to save that person. And next thing you know, you've dug a grave for yourself. Listen, I had a situation where the young lady met the guy online. Is it Cupid.com or something? Okay, Cupid. One of those Cupid shots. And Cupid got her. And she said before she can say yay or nay, the guy said, let's get married. When I actually heard the story, I was shocked. Sometimes you're there, your friends tell you, I'm getting married. And you're like, you're getting married? Don't just say, oh, I'll be there and go get your dress. Ask them questions. I've had friends stop talking to me. I'm okay. But I'm going to ask you, when did you fall in love? How did this happen? You have to be able to explain this love thing to me. Because a lot of times we can't even explain the love. If you cannot explain the love that you're loving, if it doesn't make sense, please, you're not in love. You're confused. If you can't actually articulate how you feel about or what exactly this relationship is doing to you for you, then you're not quite in love. Lust masks as love. So let's not get it twisted. I teach a lot on healthy relationships. And I can tell you, I've seen it on both sides, where the person is like, I don't even know what I saw in this person. I've seen a lot of virtual abuse. Hear me when I say this. This young lady met the guy on OkCupid. Before she can breathe, he said, oh, let's get married. She said the day I walked down the aisle, he beat her in the morning. Like, he beat her before she went and said, I do. And I had to ask her, what will make such an intelligent, and this is somebody I knew growing up, so I know her strength as a woman. Like, I know, when you're dealing with very intelligent women. There was a quote that I learned growing up. It says, love is a potion that turns smart, intelligent, independent women into gooey, love-struck teenagers. Uh-huh. You know what gooey means? Gooey is basically like Play-Doh, or not even Play-Doh is even good. Like this thing the kids play with, the slime. Every time I think about it, I'm like, I think of the slime. I'm like, I'm not slimy. You dig? Like, no. So love is a potion that turns like smart women into gooey. Is like, oh my God. Oh, yeah, jelly. Are you jelly? You can't be jelly, yo. How can we be jelly? Look at us. Do you understand? Women, we are too powerful to be jelly. And so all of a sudden we turn into this gooiness. And they take the gooiness and they look at the jelly and start tossing the jelly this way, tossing it and throwing it up and stepping on the jelly. And I mean, jelly is messy. Before I got on here, I had peanut butter and jelly. Hey, my kids said they don't want to eat it. And I've bought so much peanuts, is enough for like at least a good year. I have jelly, I have peanuts. So I started eating the peanut butter and jelly myself. I am not serious at all. Don't take this seriously. But that's what I ate. And can you imagine that now I'm walking around like I don't know who I am, what I'm doing? No, God forbid. Yeah, it's an intense topic. So I'm bringing a bit of a joke in there, but it's a very serious topic we're talking about. So again, I've defined domestic violence. It's control, right? So I'm going to give you actual examples, right? I defined it. I gave you examples of abuse, sexual, emotional, psychological. I gave you verbal abuse, financial abuse, right? Verbal abuse is where we use words to demean others. You're stupid. You're dumb. Look at you. You're so fat. You're so fat. Look at your weight. You can, and you're losing weight. You're losing weight, and now you look like there's some weight loss. We beg you, go back and gain the weight because why? But because you've heard words, you feel to yourself, I must look like. I remember I had somebody who they got their breast done in the name of the man. Do you understand what I'm saying? I wanted to do my breast because I didn't want him to like leave me for if he wants to leave, it's not because of the breasts, because the breasts are not meant to stay up forever. It's not meant, it's anything that goes up will come down. And it's going. As it's going, it's going. There are only a few women who have children who their breast doesn't sink. And some of these women, they don't breastfeed. That's the truth. If you breastfeed, your breast will fall down. So I can't look at a woman who decides I don't want to breastfeed for her own personal reason and now be upset and go get a boob job. That's abusive. To be told, fix your body, do this, do that, in the name of. Do you understand what I'm saying? In the name of. Listen, while you are here, if you're like, I want to come on live, if you want to come, please come. Because I want to hear what some of you have to say. Have you seen somebody go through something like this? Did you see the signs? What did you say? Or maybe you can put a comment. You can also send it in the question mark. Just put a comment or send in the question mark about domestic violence, how you experienced it. And a lot of us come from places that culturally the man gets away with being abusive to the woman. Culturally, it's almost like accepted because the law does not protect the women, those that are being abused. Let me tell you something that happens when a child is in the DV home. Okay. I've already given you examples of what it is. And I'm going to give you what happens to a child. Children are called, they're the invisible ones. They usually are invisible in divorce. They're also invisible in DV relationships. So maybe mom is being abused. What happens is when a child witnesses abuse, the child either becomes a perpetrator or a victim. Statistically, children become more victims than perpetrators. In other words, a child that was being abused, or if mom is being abused, a lot of times the children are being abused too. I'm just telling you. I'm talking about things I've seen, experience why I did this for 6 years as an advocate. A lot of times because dad is trying to be dad to the children, but because dad is so controlling and abusive, he also hits the children. So maybe a woman will have a case, right? A CPS case, they'll call us to come in. We come in, we look at the situation, and the wife is like, oh, I mean, their dad just hit him a little bit. No, the child is saying you are being beaten, and after they beat you, they come and beat them. So ultimately, this child is witnessing abuse. You see a lot of kids that are bullies. Do you know the story behind a lot of bullies? they grew up in domestically violent homes. Most bullies were bullied or were being abused because children's brains are not set up to sustain that kind of force, right? That kind of attack and constantly being on edge. So that's trauma. Even if the child is not hit, if they see their parent, their mother, their father being hit, naturally, naturally that child is going to develop some kind of fear. And that fear is going to lead to other things. So when they go to school, you see children that go to school, always they are calling their parents, always the child did this. The child, do you know why the child does that? Because the child is safer at home. That child cannot go home and act out because the dad will beat them silly. The mother will slap them on the side of their head. So when these kids go to school, and we have a school teacher here, she can attest. When these kids go to school, you're always calling, there's always something because the child is actually safer at school. So children misbehave where they feel free. It's true. Because when you tell a child, sit down, and they know they don't sit, their hand is going to go on the stove. They're going to sit down. But if they go where their hands is not going to be hit or beaten or whatever, they're going to act out. I mean, there's just so much I can say about domestic violence. My gosh. So I just want to throw a disclaimer out there. Let me give you information so that as I wrap up, I don't forget. The national hotline for domestic violence is 1-800-799-SAFE. 799-SAFE. So that's 7233. 1-800-799-7233. And now you can even text the number for support. Domestic violence, it literally sits in a part of their brain and doesn't go away. So when I'm working with an adult who was abused or is being abused, I always ask them, what happened to you as a child? People who are sexually abused, there's a direct correlation between sexual abuse and being in a domestically violent relationship. And because we think domestic violence is hidden and beaten, thank you so much, my dear. We think it's hidden and slapping and stuff like that. People that are being abused don't necessarily do anything if it's verbal. But what we don't understand that when we talk at people, even our children, you're dumb, you're stupid, you will amount to nothing. That child becomes exactly what you said. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Children become exactly what you feed them. And a lot of times, because we were so like, as an abused person, guess what? You're so weak and so tired and so overwhelmed that it's hard to give the best to your children. It's so hard to give your best. I think there were comments here. Let me read some of the comments and then we'll go back. I can get so into this. I tell you. Hey, the technology is technology because I can't see the notes anymore. Oh, help me. Let me see. Okay, Cupid. Okay. The crazy thing about jelly is that it takes the shape of the container. Oh, that's good. That's good. I totally missed that. Hence, you take form of that relationship and normalize the abuse. Oh, that's so good. Because that's exactly right. Jelly is like water. You become malleable. So whatever container it is. So if that person is nasty, that person is, you literally become that person. And now you've become a new identity. You've formed a new identity. And you've lied to yourself that it's okay. And you're walking on eggshells. Listen, if you're here and you're like, okay, there's something that happened in my relationship. I want to talk to my husband about it. But like, I don't want him to be upset. Like I'm trying, and you're walking on eggshells. That is actually a sign of manipulation. That's why I said, I want to talk about the subtle things. I don't want to say that because if I say this, they will spaz out. You know they will spaz out. If you're too afraid to go to a spouse, which is an equal partner, we're not going to get into the equality now, but I'm talking about this is a partnership. And I can't go to my partner to say, hey, this is how I feel. I am afraid. Anytime you are afraid, that's a sign of abuse. Why do I change my body for another person? It is sad. It is sad. Thank you so much. Emotional abuse is hardly considered as abuse where I come from. Yes. Emotional, it says lots of women are messed up emotionally. They can barely pick themselves up in life. That is true. I agree. That's why I say there's some parts of the world that abuse has been so normalized and we think it's okay. We talk down to people, we say nasty things to them, and we make them feel like nothing. Emotional abuse can leave scars that are lasting. See, the black eye, once you dab it a little bit, by the grace of God, the thing can disappear. The emotional daggers, they don't disappear, they're with you. Can you imagine being called dumb, stupid every day? And let me say this one thing that can be triggering. And like always, when I come on here, I told you guys, if you're triggered in any way, reach out to me. Reach out to me if you're triggered in any way. I will talk to you personally. If it's something that I cannot address, I will send you up to someone who can help you. But I want to talk about this one thing. There are relationships where the women are raped in the marriage. I'm not talking about rape outside. I'm talking about in the marriage, there is a rape that goes on because the man is so controlling. He feels like, I have the right to your body. I have the right to your body, and I will force you and I will sleep with you. It is considered rape. If you have somebody, you know a brother, a cousin, tell them when a woman says no, the answer is no. You never push yourself or force yourself on a woman, even if she said, I do to you. She said, I do, but maybe now she's saying, I don't. Reproductive coercion is another type of abuse that nobody talks about. Reproductive coercion is when the husband, and I'm saying the men because we know that DV is predominantly, the victims are predominantly women. We're talking about 90%. Men get abused too. We're not here for that today. So we're going to focus on the predominance, which is the women who are being killed, the women who are being abused in these relationships. So what the wife is being told, go have a child, have a child. Now, myself, I've had 3 C-sections. C-sections are not easy. They're not easy at all. And neither do I think pushing out a baby is any easier. Not at all. Either way you slice it, it's hard. But when a woman has had C-section, for example, and then she's being pushed to have 6, 7, 8 children, I'm talking about what I've seen. Listen, this is abuse beyond anything. It's reproductive coercion. And even if the woman is pushing out the baby naturally and having the baby on the kitchen floor, you cannot force her to have children when she doesn't. And we come from cultures that demand you to give up, like give in to this thing. You must have children. It is part of being a woman. Guess what? There are women who have too many health problems, and that supersedes the need to have a child by force. If God is saying, I'm giving you a child, then he's going to give you a child. If God is saying if God tells you he's going to give you a child. But if somebody is telling you, oh, you need to have more children, you need to have more. Hey, I want to have a basketball team. Are you a player? Do you play? Are you going to the championship? So you force the woman to have children after children after children to the detriment. Listen, all my 3 births were life or death, especially the last one. So I couldn't imagine being in a situation where my husband is now saying, I want 2 more. I mean, how? But that is abuse. If you're in that situation, it's abusive. Unless God is telling you go for more, nobody should be forcing you to go for more, period. Now, I'm pretty much done. I've given you what abuse is, giving you, here are the signs. When you're looking at somebody, let me give you signs of abuse. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's somebody. Yes. Signs. I think the phone is dying. So either way, we're gonna have to close because the phone is dying. So I'm gonna have to get off here in a minute. Okay. It says battery low. So um extreme criticism. If you're in a relationship where the person criticizes you, it's like every little thing, the person is criticizing you. That is abusive. Humiliates you. Maybe other people are around and they just make you feel dumb. They just make you feel stupid. Do you know what I mean? Controlling behavior. Where are you going? Who is gonna be there? Who said come? Who how everywhere they're controlling. All of that is what? Is a sign of abuse. Isolation. I talked about domestic violence thrives in silence. Listen, silence will make DV go far. Can you imagine? You're in love. All of us came to the wedding. The wedding was so beautiful. You go to the honeymoon. Then he slaps you, pow. Hey, are you going to come back and tell your parents that he has slapped me? No, you won't say it. Because at this point, you're like, one, you're confused. You're trying to make sense of what just happened. So how can you go and tell somebody? So you protect the person. Let me tell you something. After doing this, I've done this work for over 10 years. I can comfortably say 15 years. People who are abusive, they won't change. Listen to this. They won't change. Abusive people, because remember, you only change something you think is wrong. If I'm the perpetrator, I'm the abuser, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. You made me slap you. Like you made me hit you. You made me mad. Like I really love you, baby. You know I love you, but like you made me mad. Like I wasn't going to hit you, but I hit you because you made me mad. It's your fault. Remember, you're the victim and it's your fault. So if you're the victim and it's your fault, how am I going to change? It's your fault. So abusive people, we'll talk about textbook style abusive people that we learn about, we read about. Those people need intensive, it's called batterers intervention programs. So if the man is abusive and he has not gone, listen, I've seen crazy women, abusive women, very abusive women. If that person, that man or woman has not gone to a batterer's intervention, you have to intervene in order to intercept what the man is doing. Echo. You have to intervene the mindset that tells the person, I'm supposed to slap you. This is a grown adult in front of you. I don't like this food. What food is this? Pow. Then you slap the person. Come on. Like, come on. Let's be honest. No, you don't have the right to slap somebody under any circumstance. No matter what they do, by the way. No matter what they do, you don't have the right to slap anybody. So, because the person thinks that they're doing nothing wrong, they won't change. So I'm saying domestically abusive men and women don't change until there's an intervention. So don't sit there and think, oh, somebody will talk to them. Who's talking? This person, do they carry, who are they? Listen, the pastor can talk to the person, you get home and they slap you again. And you won't go back to the pastor and tell him that my husband slapped me. You won't. Because at this point, you're like, okay, they talked to him, it didn't work, forget it. Let me sit here and let him beat me. People are dying for no reason. Because of what? Oh, I saw you talking to that girl. We watched this a few years ago. A woman took a gun and literally killed her husband on live. Killed him on live. Why? Because he went out and he was talking to somebody and so what? We're married, but if you want to do better, then it's a goodbye. You don't own anybody, right? We don't own anybody. that I must kill you. So what happens in the abusive relationship is, I tell people, one of the hardest things, we think marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. But I start feeling for people more when they have children with people. When you have children with people, and I learned this on the field. When I was on the field, I learned that when you have a child with somebody, it is harder than divorce. I said it. When you have children with someone, because the thing is, that connection, that bond, so far as the child is alive, that bond is there. So when you have minors, it is the hardest thing to do to leave an abusive relationship. I'm not saying it's impossible. It makes it difficult. So sometimes people are in an abusive relationship, but they don't have children. And they're still afraid to leave. Listen, there is a story I love in the Bible so much. There was a prophecy that tomorrow by this time, there will be a measure of flour sold for a shekel in the land of Samaria. And guess what? There was so much famine, people were eating their children alive. So a prophet shows up, and Elisha's prophesied. He said, tomorrow by this time, all this thing that all the bags of rice, I went buying the bag of rice 2 weeks ago because I heard that, there's some kind of strike. And I went to buy a bag of rice and the price was up. And they told me I can't buy more than 2 rice. Me too. I had $1,000 budget and I wanted to buy enough food that was going to last me at least 6 months. So that was the situation happening in Samaria. So the prophet prophesied and said, oh, there's food is coming. And somebody's like, oh, so the four lepers, some lepers were there. They didn't hear the prophecy because remember, they're lepers. Nobody minds them. They're nobodies. They can't be amazed people. These lepers said, if I stay here, I will die. I'm in the land. There is famine. Guys, I'm going to take a walk. Sorry, YouTube. I have to take a quick walk. I'll take a walk and I'll finish the story because I got to check on the kids. Okay. Tomorrow by this time, there's going to be X, Y, and Z. Stay in the abusive relationship and die. Why should I sit in the abusive relationship and die when I can just get up? So I love that story. And if you don't know it, go look it up. It's called The Four Lepers, right? Why sit we here? Sorry, guys. I had to do that quick walk. We all good. Why sit we here till we die? So I want you to become like the four lepers. If you're in an abusive relationship, you know somebody in an abusive relationship, be like the four lepers. Don't stay there and die. Because if you stay, you can die. If you leave, you can die too, but you might live. So I want to give you the strength. If it's strength you need, you don't know me from Adam, but let me tell you, there are people positioned to help you and guide you into your next. And I've done this many a times. I remember one time when I worked for the military, I came in contact with this lady, and this lady was higher ranking, very high ranking in the military. She was being abused. And I remember I didn't even know what I told her. I mean, I'd be talking, right? I'm always talking about something. And so I said something to her. I don't recall. This must have been like a good 5, 6, 7 years down the line. There was a comment. It does make it difficult when there are children involved for most people. Yes, it does. Yes. So it must have been 5, like I said, 5, 6, 7 years. I saw the woman and she was like, I just want to thank you. Do you remember me? I said, I believe so. I mean, the name rings a bell, but she said, I was going through an abusive relationship And I'm so glad I left because he would have killed me. She said he would have killed me. But today, the way my life is, she said, there was one thing you said that made me leave that relationship. I said, what did I say? Because I don't remember. And she said, you just told me that if I can muster the strength to walk out, I will realize that it's not as scary as like he made it seem. Like, you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know if there's food in the other city. You don't know that. You don't know. But what you do know for sure is that I live with a person that can kill me. You know that for sure. But you don't know what's after behind these doors. And she says, you just encouraged me a little bit. That's all you did. You encouraged me. And she said, I was so afraid to leave because look at my position in the military. I look at my position. Look at who I am. How can I be going through a divorce, let alone a domestic violence relationship? But because she left today, her life story is completely different. I'll give you one more example. I had a client. I did this for over 6 years consistently. So I have a lot of clients. I had a client who was going through the same thing. When I came in contact with her, she was young. So I asked her, I said, like, why are you not in school? Like, what do you want to do? She's like, I'm in the military. This is what I want to do now. So I encouraged her. I said, why don't you just go to school? Is there something you want to do? Let me tell you something. When COVID came, I went to get my COVID, whatever, like check myself, because I got COVID at one point. When I went, the nurse who took care of me, hear this and hear it well. The nurse who took care of me, she said, do you remember me? I said, I don't. She told me her name and everything. I could not remember for the life of me. Because by the time of COVID, I had left my job for over 5 years. So I don't recall. She said to me, you told me to go to nursing school. She said, when everything was going on and I came to you for help, you told me go to nursing school. Now, this woman is the RN and I got COVID. When I came, she was the one taking care of me. Listen, you cannot tell me that by taking one step, that your life will not change. So if you're in a domestic violence relationship, you're in an abusive relationship, that person does not own you. That they do not listen. One of us will die. It won't be me. That is the force, because do you know the level of strength you carry that you don't even know you carry? There is so much strength in you, because to sleep and know that right next to me, there is a gun that the person pointed to my head while I was laying there, and you are able to sleep. My sister, you are stronger than me, because me, Ruth, I will never sleep. I will never sleep. What do you mean? Never. So I'm here to remind you that you are stronger than you've been told. You're too strong. You're stronger than me. Because you know this person is capable of hurting you. And you are still able to see them and not be afraid and you are scared inside. But the fact that you can go to the kitchen and cook and clean and take care of the kids, like, there's no way. That's so much strength in you. So I want to encourage you. Most abuse is verbal. It's hidden, it's emotional. The person picks at you. Eventually, you lose your strength. I want to encourage you. Seek help. Don't feel ashamed. It's not your fault. All you wanted to do was be there for them and love them. And they didn't love you back. They couldn't love you back. They don't even love themselves. Do you know how bad and how crazy you have to feel about yourself to put somebody else through that hell? That's bullying somebody. It's high-level bullying to slap and beat somebody, especially the mother of your children. So no love is worth. Love doesn't hurt. Don't let nobody tell you. Love doesn't hurt. Lust hurts. Lust is jealous. Lust is controlling. Lust is hurtful. Love doesn't hurt. Because The Bible says in John 3:16 that God loves the world so much that he gave. God so loved the word that he gave. When you love, you give. If this person you're with cannot give of themselves all the time, it has to be them or them. It's so subtle, so selfish. That's selfish nature. I'm telling you, that person carries something. And to close, nobody gets up one day and says, oh my gosh, I didn't know he was abusive. You missed the signs. Nobody is suddenly abusive. Let me just put that out there. It's okay to say I missed the signs. People behavior, right? Our behavior as human, that behavior, we are creatures of habit. What that means is that we repeat what we do. Yes, I didn't mean the slaps at all. Thank you, my dear. I did not mean the slaps at all. Yeah, not at all. We're creatures of habits. I mean, we repeat. One of the biggest tips I learned growing up that helped me is that when you're dating anybody, spend 72 hours with them. Did you hear that? Now, I'm not telling you to go shack up and go sleep over there with them. Like, I didn't say none of that. What I'm saying is, when you're dating somebody, try to spend 3 days with them continuously. 72 hours, because we're creatures of habit. That means that we can't really hide who we are over a 24-hour period. We might be able to could hide who we are in 24 hours. 48 hours, it gets a little tough, just a little tough. By 72 hours, they give themselves away. Listen, I learned this some years ago and I put it to work and it worked. It's true. 72 hours. Everything you want to know. Don't waste time asking, oh, tell me about yourself. Like, what would you do if, you know, those crazy date questions? What would you do? He's going to do what you want to hear. He's going to do what you want to hear. We don't ask, what would you do? On a Sunday, hey, you're going to your mom, right? Can I go spend time with you? And if he says, oh, I'm not ready yet, then he doesn't even want you in the first place. So let's not talk. I'm talking about people that actually want that relationship, right? So, you know, what are some habits and what are some things that your family is and does, and what are some no, don't ask those questions. Watch with your eye. My dear, watch. The Bible says watch and pray. It didn't say go talk and go ask and pray. No, watch. What do you do on a Sunday? You will know. Don't ask him what you do on a Sunday. On a Sunday, surprise him. Am I going off tangent? I hope this is not off tangent. I'm trying to show you that because our habits repeats, if you watch somebody close enough, you will catch it. You will actually catch it, that they are abusive. Abuse cannot hide for too long. An abusive person cannot contain themselves 3 days in a row. They will not. I promise you they can't. They can't contain themselves. They can fake it the 24 hours. They might fake it the second night. By the third night, you have done something to piss them off. So please, that is how we date. The world has become very scary, guys. People are so flaky. People change. People can change, it's true. But the one thing that doesn't change is your discernment. God has given you discernment. If it smells fishy, it is fishy. If it looks fishy, it is fishy. Take no explanation for things. Let your spirit man give you the answers to things. No man after the flesh. What that means is that don't meet a girl and know her after the flesh. Don't meet a man and know them after the flesh. Don't meet a friend and know them after the flesh. She's so nice. She's always cooking for me. She's been wanting to poison you. So what is she going to do but cook for you? She has to cook for you enough for you to get comfortable so she can poison you. Guys, it's a scary world out there. So you have to discern correctly. You have to know, who do I go around? Who do I talk to? And not everybody even has the right to your pain story. You might be wanting to escape from that abusive relationship. So you go and tell a friend or a family member, oh, your brother, he hits me, or, your sister, when I talk to her, she's always insulting me, always calling me stupid. And then, she tells me, oh, my penis is small. Oh, I'm not good. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm that. All these things. Maybe the person says that, and now you go tell your sister. Don't go tell. So the person you told now went and told somebody. Now you're like, I'm not going to ever talk to anybody again. Oh, I'm going to. You understand? Because abuse is doing what? It's saying something to hurt you. Maybe this your thing is not too small, but the person has to say it to make you feel bad. Or maybe they're telling you, oh, you don't smell well down there. I don't, that's why I don't like you. I'm cheating on you because you don't smell good. There are other women that smell better than you. Okay, well then I have the other women now, and leave me to go. You understand? But a lot of times, because it's so delicate, we don't share it. So maybe you told your story to the wrong person. You told it to the wrong person, and that person went and told. And because they're told, now you're like, I'm not going to share anymore. And then unfortunately, you get stuck in a relationship when what you should have done is find the right person to tell your story to. You must know who is in your corner. Guys, any questions, any comments? Was this helpful at all? Because I'm done. I think I'm talked out. I am talked out. Please call 1-800-799-SAFE if you need help. They're not going to get your information. They're not going to get to, and they will help you. Don't worry about it. There are domestic violence houses, safe houses that you can go to. They will take you in with your children. You can call your local number, 211-311, whatever number is in your locality. You call them and say, I am being abused and I need a safe house. They're not going to tell anybody where you're at. And if you're going through a court scenario with somebody who's abusive, tell the court you want to hide your address. Because a lot of times you move to a new place, and the court forces you to give them your address. Or they go on there and they go get a paperwork, and the paperwork has what on it? Has your address on it. So you got to make sure you tell the court you don't want your information to be shown. You want to mask it. Okay? So I'm here. I'm a wealth of resource. I've helped countless people going through domestic violence. I'm nationally certified to do this. And so if you need help, if you need support, even if I can't be on the ground, I will send you to the right person. Oh, thank you so much. This was super helpful. Thank you so much for watching. All of us deserve a great chance at life, and really being able to be there for our children. So we should not let fear, keep us bound and cause us to miss out on life when we deserve so much more. So this is DVAM October. Share it with someone. Let somebody know that we were live, and we'll be posting throughout the week. I told one of my girls, I said, this week we're posting about domestic violence alone. So they'll be posting some facts and some information on domestic violence, and do not hesitate to reach out. The Lord bless you. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful